Mask on, fucking mask on, mask on, fucking mask on.
Like I said, people talk about the overnight thing, and it's on the Federal Reserve's website. It's straight up on their website saying that they could issue the ISO system overnight, and it will be an overnight process where we overhaul the entire economy.
Uh-huh.
I thought that was so funny because I'm like, wow, it's literally right out in the open. It's right out in the open.
Yep. So they were gonna just launch it on the 23rd of November.
Yeah, so that was the original plan, and I was saying I can actually send you listen to an hour-long video back. So this video came out right before the launch, and see, this is why I kind of don't take the Federal Reserve and a lot of the government agencies seriously. And you'll even see in this document too that they'll go, oh, we plan on implementing something in 2023. I think the Federal Reserve just does whatever they want. They'll put out an announcement saying that we may do something at some certain time, and then they'll do it whenever they want to do it. It's not
They
that
don't need to answer to anybody, man.
Yeah, dude, you see this with interest rates. That's like the running joke with interest rates. We're not going to raise interest rates, and then like 3 months later they raise interest rates, and then they lower them again. Like,
yeah.
So it's like, but yeah, it's this huge thing that's just right out in the open that we could go into the ISO system, and actually I won't send this to you, but the document I was talking about or the video I was talking about where these Federal Reserve bankers from the New York Fed talk about moving to the ISO system. They're so all over the place that they had a conference talking about moving to the ISO system 1 month before they decided that they were going to go to the overnight solution, even though they had like all these it's one of those things where it's like there's a lot going on behind the scenes that we definitely don't see what's going on, but you can definitely tell that it's one of those things where if you can go into some of the literature, it's kind of out in the open, but they're not going to come out and go on CNN and go, this is what's going to happen in the financial system.
Yeah.
Like that's after the news. That's after it happens. The news will come out and talk about it. But yeah, dude, right on their website. And if you want to, you could throw the image on the screen about how Fed on their own website say how they are going to overhaul to a new ISO system with an overnight method. Dude, it's the whole meme. It's the whole overnight XRP moon meme, dude. And it's right there on their website.
Yep. So you think it's all just going to moon in one day? Boom.
Oh, yeah. I
think by moon, what do you mean? Go from like $1 to $10 or to $20 or...
I don't know what it's going to be, but what's going to happen is all the XRP that's going to be on the markets, or even that escrow, is going to be entirely commandeered by the banks. And that's what's going to cause it to move. Because basically, let's say, and that's the thing, you can already see this now, 1% of the entire XRP that's out there is in the hands of retail traders. So the only thing that's going to cause it to moon is the supply staying the same, but the demand going through the roof because the banks are now using this. It's almost like the difference between the banks sitting and holding onto a bunch of XRP and then now beginning to use it. And it's not all the banks are going to use it. It's the banks that are already prepared to use it, using it, and then everybody else following in line because this is the new system that they have to use. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So you may have the Federal Reserve, you may have a handful of giant commercial banks already be on board, already be ready. That doesn't mean all the banks are going to be ready, but once they make the move, everybody else that falls in line is going to cause that demand to go. There's no telling where the price is going to go, but I can almost tell you that the demand is going to be on a whole nother level that's going to be unrecognized to what we've seen in the crypto markets today. Like,
so
it's gonna make
bigger gains in 2017.
Oh yeah. It's gonna make 2017 look like a drop in the bucket, dude.
Yeah.
It's gonna make 2017 look like absolutely nothing. It's gonna make the Bitcoin market cap look like an absolute puddle. Like it's gonna make the entire crypto space look like a joke. It's because of the ISO demand. So remember what I said before about why do people have to use these tokens? Well, you've got to also remember the banks force demand on them forcing an ISO payment system, and they can only accept ISO coins. Well, then they may just go, well, that other coin sounded interesting. We could have used it, but it's not part of the ISO system, so the people we work with don't accept it. Now I have to use them. And this is where ISO is a huge thing important, because it may be a legislative process to where the banks and not only the banks and the Federal Reserve sort of not quite legally, but it's almost like a forced implementation of how these technologies are going to be used and adopted. Because like I said, if it's ISO and they have to use ISO, well then Like, what else are you going to do? They're not going to go to Ethereum if they have to accept ISO. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So everything that they would have already been anticipating on doing with any of the other tokens, they're going to immediately go over to the ISO tokens and immediately start using them for those use cases. And actually, I think you're going to end up seeing sort of almost like a double, almost like a double peak or a double alt rally when it comes to ISO. I think you're going to have your first initial adoption rally. That's going to be from the banks. It's going to be from businesses. It's going to be from all the typical, like that utility rally. But then I think you're going to get a double peak from all the stupid fucks that FOMO in after the fact.
Speculation. After they see 100x gain, they're all going to be FOMOing in. I'm going to be all over YouTube telling them to FOMO in, man.
Yeah, you're going to get the... That's the... I think the FOMO peak is going to cause it. It's almost going to be one of those things where it's going to shoot up. Like, let's say it shot up to $120. Well, it may shoot up another $100 from all the people FOMOing back in. Man. But and you'll see some volatility, so it may go up, may go down. But that's the thing. For the most part, the main utility move is gonna maintain its value. So it may go up to $100 and then may go up to $200, then come back down to $120. And it may look like a 50% drop, but it's still going to maintain that $100
that huge
move
gain, yeah.
Because of the underlying use case and the underlying need and demand is just going to be so great once there's clarity around not only legal clarity from the SEC, but clarity in regards to how the banks operate with each other. You got to remember, if the Federal Reserve all of a sudden said, we're ISO, we're using these tokens, this is how it is, all the banks have to fall in line. So it could very much be an announcement tomorrow by the Federal Reserve that basically dictates the price of all the ISO coins.
Yeah. So we're not going to have to worry about a 97% drop again.
See, there is one thing about that, though. So I do believe the markets are manipulated. So I wouldn't be surprised if there was. It's one of those best things. I don't know if it'll be at 97%. I don't think the price of XRP is really going to drop under 50 cents again. So that's sort of the way to look at it. I think if the price will drop, it'll probably moonshot, then drop. I call it the final shakeout because, like I said, the markets are manipulated. So, of course, if you want to freak people out, you'd moonshot it and then crash it, which I think that may have just been this past like 2 months, really, where it shot up from shot up to $2. People, got all tweaked out. Now it's back at like 67 cents, and everybody.
And everyone that was too late lost all that money.
Yeah. But it's one of those things too where I think this is all part of a manipulated shakeout. Because
it's one of those things too where I think in the next few months we're going to see. Not only, I think you're going to see Ethereum overtake Bitcoin, mostly because it's manipulated, but I think you're going to see XRP and a bunch of other tokens overtake Bitcoin.
I used to live in the peace, now it's the crib with the day. Only got charms, the life must have